Hey guys, before we get going today, please take a minute and check out my buddies Mike and Frank from West Virginia, Pedro and Betty's Big Revival here on YouTube and Instagram. We brought that bike up there in February. They're building the charity chop, really great cause. They just posted a video with an interview with the creator of the charity, founder of the charity, whatever you want to call her. Great story, great charity. They have extended the raffle ticket sales a couple of weeks. So you still have a chance to buy some, win the bike. I'll put all the links and everything in the description. But please take a minute and check this stuff out. It's a great cause, helps children who are suffering from shit kids should never have to deal with. So please take a minute and check that out. And now we're going to get to our regularly scheduled video. Everybody, welcome back. Saturday in the shop. We are 12 days away from the 24-hour build and the insanity that looks to come along with it. So today we're going to spend the time we have making sure we've got everything prepped. We're going to get the frame jig set up. We'll put the stock frame in there. I'll show you guys how I like to use the stock frames to set up the frame jig. We got a couple of jig pieces we need to make. I felt like we could do that ahead of time. It's not really part of the bike, so we're going to do that. If you've been following along with this, you know in a previous video we made the gas tank. We've been working on our scheduling and decided we need to go ahead and put the mounting tabs on the gas tank now. So we'll make those with the holes in them, and then we'll make that fit onto the frame, kind of like you would if you had pre-purchased a gas tank that came with mounting tabs. That way, at the start, Tony will be able to start on the body work on the tank right away, because obviously he won't have a frame to paint because we won't have made it yet. So anyway, that's the plan for today, is to get the tabs for the gas tank made, put on the tank, get the frame jig set up. We're going to take another look through all the stuff, do another parts inventory, make sure we've got everything there, make a list of anything we still may need to get, and like I said, 12 days away, so we do not have too much time left to make sure everything's in order so we can get this done. So anyway, that's the plan. We're going to jump out in the shop and get to work. Alright guys, so we're out in the shop here. We got our Chop Source frame jig. We've had this for a bunch of years. It's a nice universal frame jig, pretty inexpensive. So if you're in the market for a jig, check them out. What we're doing here is, this is how I always start when we're going to make a frame. This frame is going to be made using a little piece of the stock frame. It's just going to help speed things along. We won't have to worry about locating our motor because we're going to use the factory motor mount, front, upper, and lower motor mounts. So we're dropping the stock. This is a 1998 Honda CB750. Not CB, VT750 Shadow. So we're going to get this set into the frame jig and lock it down with the stock dimensions, and then that'll allow us to locate the piece we want to use, and then we can adjust the fixture once we cut away the part of the stock frame we don't need, and that will leave us with the dimensions of our aftermarket frame. So pretty basic deal. This thing is all made with a 2x3 rectangular steel tubing, and the fixture pieces that they make slide up and down, as you can see there, up and down, front to back, in the rear for the axle plates. It's got a neck bar with locating cones, and the rake is adjustable on that. So again, for not a lot of money, real nice adjustable jig. So we're getting this thing all locked down here, and once we do that, we'll start making our mounting points to lock in our stock piece that we're going to be using.
So we've also got the stock swing arm in this frame, and now that we've got the neck set, we're going to go ahead and use a rear swing arm to locate our rear axle. Again, we loosen up all the fixture bolts and just use a rubber mallet to knock this thing into place. Again, this will give us our stock wheelbase. Our aftermarket frame, we will probably stretch a little bit. I believe we're thinking 2 to 3 inch range, just to give a little bit more room. Being that it's going to be a rigid frame, and a little kind of a compact bike, but it'll let us sit a little further back. These are relatively small bikes, so we'll get that located off of this. Then we'll be able to make our adjustments once we remove the stock portions of the frame that we're not going to use. So it's really, again, simple. This is how I've always set up when we have a stock frame that we can utilize. We utilize it to get all of our factory dimensions, and just makes for an easier task in building your frame. So now that we've got the frame locked in, we're going to make our little mounting tabs we need to hold our stock frame portions. Jumped over on the horizontal bandsaw, just cutting off a piece of angle here. Because this is probably going to be a single time use, we will just weld these a couple good strong tacks to the frame fixture, and when we're done, we'll cut them loose. I have a couple of different ones, like we use this frame fixture to straighten Harley 45 flathead frames a lot. So I have some fixtures that we've made that bolt on to the main jig. I don't use them often, but here you can see, laying this in here, checking for fitment. And then we're going to go ahead and lay it back up there. We'll mark our hole. This is our front lower motor mount, so we'll mark that. And then we'll cut off the excess where it hangs over on the square tubing. Again, this is real basic stuff, bolted on. And we're just, in the second piece, while we're doing this, that horizontal bandsaw, guys, because it's a work done for you while you're off doing something else. Got those both on there, lined up on the frame jig, and we're just tacking everything into place. So this will hold our lower piece of frame once we cut the remainder of the frame away, and let us build our new frame off of those pieces. So now we're just taking some yellow painter tape, laying out where our cut lines are going to be. Again, we're using a very minimal part of this frame. You'll see here in a minute. Basically, that front curved tube between these two pieces of yellow tape is what we're using. The complete rest of the frame will end up in the scrap pile. So it's may seem silly, but having those front motor mount pieces in there is really going to give us a lot of time. Help us pick up a lot of time is what I'm trying to say on this build without having to locate the motor in a brand new scratch built frame. So now I've got my little notebook out here that I've been using to organize this 24-hour build, and we're just going to make a bunch of notes on the dimensions as far as like the rear axle plate width. Each side, it's obviously not even. You have a little bit of offset for the chain side. So I'm just measuring there because in order to remove this from the frame, you do have to completely unbolt the rear axle fixture pieces, and that'll let me get the new axle plates set how we want. I'll have all those dimensions noted in relation to what the front of the frame was, or the stock swing arm was, rather. So while I was looking at our frame mounts, I decided to add one more little mount here to the front of the frame, just so that when we cut it loose, it'll keep that frame from pivoting on those other mounts we made. Just kind of a point of triangulation to keep it all nice and rigid once the main portion of the frame is gone. So just getting our last little notes here finished up, and we have our frame all set, ready and waiting for this build to start. Next thing we wanted to get done today is just get the fuel tank mounting tabs installed. So went ahead and got some round tube that'll fit on the backbone, split it in half, drilled a couple holes, and we're just adding that to our fuel tank as a fuel tank mount front and rear. This way Tony can get started on the body work as soon as we start the build. That'll help him get a head start while we're getting the frame fabbed up, and everybody will stay busy working, getting something done rather than having somebody waiting around while we decided how to mount the frame. It's a simple way to mount the frame. I usually like to make a little cooler mount, or mount the tank, but we are on a kind of serious time constraint here. So hopefully going this simple route will help us in the long run and save us a good bit of time and grief trying to get this thing done, because that's going to be quite the challenge to begin with. So there you see we got our rear tab, and it's going to be a pretty high neck frame, so the tank should mount somewhere in this vicinity and look pretty good.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for the day. We got the frame in the jig. We got all of our jig pieces made up, marked out the frame where we're going to cut it, made some notes for all of our rear axle set up and all that stuff, so everything's ready to go there. Also, we got the tabs fabbed up and mounted on the tank so that Tony can jump on the bodywork of the tank right away, and sorted through some other stuff, made sure we had what we need. It's looking pretty good. Got a couple of motor mount bolts on order, but overall real happy with what we got going on so far. So looking good. We still have one more Saturday next week, which we can utilize for some prep if need be. But that's it. We're getting really excited for this. Hope everybody is also, and be able to take some time and follow along. Plan is still to live stream the entire 24 hours, as well as do our regular filming, which will break into a series of videos. I don't know how many, it just depends on how much footage and how good it is. And that's the plan. So appreciate you guys watching as always, and we hope to see you next time at Gattis Garage.